All right. Welcome back to this week's episode of The Broker's Voice. Each week I sit down and I bring on great human beings who are doing great things in the health insurance industry. Today's guest is nothing short of amazing, especially with the work he's doing. If you spend any time on LinkedIn, you probably see this man roaming around LinkedIn because he has gotten extremely consistent with showing up every day, which is something that I love. Now, before I bring him on, I do want to make a quick plug for our sponsor, XY Web Solutions, Agency Annex. Listen, if you're an insurance agency right now, there's a good chance your website doesn't quite say what it should. If there's a good chance your website talks all about you when today, it should actually be talking to and about your prospect. If I'm a prospect, I should come to your website and I should feel as though you are talking to me. So if you know your website needs an upgrade, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get in touch, with the guys at Agency Annex. Steve Conca, I've got his website there, Steve at xywebsolutions.com. They build websites specifically for the insurance industry. They built mine. I couldn't be happier. Listen, when you have a website that is talking to your prospect, it's telling their story. It makes them feel like you know them. Your website becomes that salesperson you wish you had. So get a hold of Steve today. You won't be disappointed with the websites they build. All right, let's get right into this week's episode of The Broker's Voice. I'm excited to bring the one, the only, Mr. John Troutman. John, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet, man. I'm super excited to have you on The Broker's Voice. All right, this week, before we dive into the conversation, I want to ask you the main question I love asking everybody. What the heck were you doing before you got into the health insurance industry?
Great question. So I was actually a pastor for 19 and a half years. And what got me out of that industry was I burned out in a mega way, and I had to find something else. So I got introduced, since I was good at public speaking for 19 and a half years, I got introduced to Mazzitti and Sullivan and was a trainer for them as opposed to the business development piece as I was taking on sales positions to supplement my income. So I got into multiple sales roles while I was introduced to Mazzitti and Sullivan EAP services.
Okay. Do you ever have that moment where everything just all of a sudden clicks? I've known you for a little while. I had no clue you were a pastor at one time, especially 19 years. Now it makes all the sense in the world why you're in the EAP services.
Yeah.
Because every Sunday you were in the pulpit, wherever on stage, wherever you were, giving those sermons, helping people up-level their mind and their spirit. So it makes all the sense in the world. That was that aha moment. I have to be honest. For a while, I thought you were living a second life. Because I was listening to a Gary Vee podcast the other day, and he was talking about his business career and just all the ventures he's been in over the course of his career. And I forget which one it was, but it was one of maybe it was Empathy Wines, Resi, something he was involved in that had a huge 8 to 9 figure exit. And he said he started it with one of his childhood friends, John Troutman. So when I heard that, I was like, wait a second, is John Troutman not telling me something he should be? Does he know? Is he friends with the guy that I absolutely adore, Gary Vaynerchuk? So I know you are not that John Troutman. But let's get into the health insurance industry, what you're doing today. So you were a pastor. Here you are now in the field of mental health, which, let's face it, John, is, a very, very serious topic these days and something that is overlooked. Give me a pulse where you stand today of how you view mental health status in American society.
Yeah, so I'll speak very personally because I had COVID, right? So my whole family had it. I understand how serious it is, and I'm not belittling how serious of a situation that is. But I think the mental health situation is far worse. And the reason for that is we have all this emphasis on going to get tested. We have all this emphasis on awareness and vaccination. What about the mental health? This is something that people put aside. And again, let me be transparent. I put it aside. I was told to take 6 months off, and I'm a workaholic and didn't listen. So that's why I burned out. And I think we're not even close to the worst part, the lowest part of the trough with mental health.
Wow. You know, one area where mental health has reared its ugly head in recent years is at the workplace. And that's something you guys help address directly. You know, if we were to go back, I don't know, 10 to 15 years, John, and fast forward to the picture we have today, where do you see risks, concerns for employers today when it comes to workplace mental health?
Yeah, the concerns today are so different, but in a lot of ways the same, right? We've got issues today where we talk work-life balance. There really is no balance, right? Where there's no perfect balance point, unlike a playground balance. It's an integration. So even though it's been a real challenge, and that's probably more of a challenge, it's a great opportunity to focus on that integration, because a lot of people are still working out of their homes and will be working out of their homes. Some people will never go back to a corporate office, right? So now more than ever, it's a great opportunity to transfer from that challenge to make it a real teaching moment. From being on the mound, if you messed up a pitch or something and you didn't step the right way, your mechanics weren't there, somebody could call you on it. This is the opportunity employers, brokers have right now, while it's so hot, while it's so open, to say, now is the time to get this integration thing figured out, to get it down to the group level, and to put those services and strategies and, quite frankly, the plans in place that'll really help. Because in my world, too often we're a checked off box. And that's just not enough, especially right now.
Well, and given the environment we're in, I mean, today you and I are doing this interview on April 12th. Where do you place the importance when you think about a benefits package and a benefits strategy that brokers are bringing to their clients today? Where do you put mental health on a level compared to, say, just the health insurance plan in general, especially given where we are in 2021?
I think it needs to be top of mind. I really do. And because even though employers may not even be aware, it's a guaranteed. I mean, the data screams that, and I'll just give you an example. If you've got an employee group of 75 people, the data says that 30 of them could be having a mental behavioral health condition. Of that 75, 8 may be seriously considering suicide, and 11 are more than likely drinking way too much alcohol to handle their stress. That's a group of 75. Again, they may not be aware of those numbers, but that's from the CDC. So understanding that, it should be top of mind and should be a top focus.
Well, and those numbers are mind-blowing to me, because when you think about, when I sit in that advisor chair and I look at a group of 75, my focus is on those 4 or 5 high-cost claimants, right? What can I do for them? But the picture you just painted is how many huge claims are lying in the weeds right now because of those startling mental health statistics. They're not a claim today, but man, they go unchecked, they go unnoticed. They will become a much, much larger issue in the very near future. Let's talk about, John, we've been in a very, very strange situation for the past 12 months, now 12 plus months. And I've watched a lot of people emotionally and mentally just go through this roller coaster. And if you have any advice, if somebody is sitting there, maybe in a lower trough, as you called it, they're in that valley, not the peak, any advice you'd give that individual right now who might be listening, might be one of our broker peers, right? Who just needs that uplifting, especially that mental, a couple tips or two to help them uplift themselves mentally. What advice would you give?
Well, a trusted source, right? Go to a trusted source. One of the things that helped me, and I can speak from experience, I'm not a PhD, I'm not a counselor, but I've walked a very difficult road in life and business. And having one person to be able to talk to try to get a feeling of where I was, I went and talked to a counselor. I took 4 months of my life off. I'm not saying that everybody needs to take 4 months of their life off, but can't you just give up 1 hour to talk to a coach who's skilled and to say, you know what, how about you give me an assessment? I'm not talking about a friend necessarily. I'm talking about a master level clinician. most of the people who are watching this have an EAP already in place or have access to a type of service that they wouldn't have to pay anything for. Use it. That's number one. Use that service that you already have, because Andy, when I was going through burnout, I couldn't see what everybody else saw. They were telling me something's awry, and I was, I'm a high D. I'm a very driven, goal-oriented person. They were just slowing me down, but I was just going farther and farther away from being healthy mentally. So getting a person who can really see that, just like a pitching coach to a pitcher, a person who knows what to look for, and then invest that time. It might take more than one call or one virtual call, but invest in yourself. That's not being selfish. That's taking care of yourself. So that is number one.
I would say, what you just said there, that was so true, is it's whether it's running a business or sitting in a very difficult situation mentally right now, when you're in it, it's hard to take that 30,000 view of it. And so getting that outside observation professionally is always a great idea, because they often will see things you can't, right?
Right.
Now let's go a little more hyper specific here. You're at Mazzitti and Sullivan. You guys are doing some great things in the EAP world, which, again, let's be honest, even with what we're dealing with today, it's a very overlooked benefit that far too many employers aren't taking a hard enough look at. And I think there's, just like voluntary benefits, there's this belief that if you've seen one EAP, you've seen them all.
Right.
What would you say if there were an employer or a broker listening in who wants to bring this solution to their employer? What are 2 or 3 things they should look for in a good EAP service?
So that's a great thing. Understanding the terms, just like you would in any legal document, understanding the terms. What are you paying for? Not every EAP provider is the same, and they might charge you for 40 minutes or 30 minutes as opposed to an hour. So if you get 3 sessions, that's not necessarily 3 hours. That might be 3 half-hour segments. So that can be huge. I mean, think about that when you would talk to someone. You're just getting started. If you're going to get a connection, time. So what type of session are you going to get? What type of support are you going to get? What does utilization even mean? Does it mean that you pulled out your phone and turned on an app, or does it mean you actually got counseling? Or does it mean both? Understanding the terms is huge. So just like any other opportunity, you're going to be buying something, understand what you're paying for. The terms get lost a lot of the times.
Interesting. Let's fast forward. If we as a country, heck, as a society at large, are going to attack this mental health crisis we face head on, if you were to roll out your crystal ball, John, what part does the insurance industry, the health insurance industry, have to play to make this effective, so we can get the result we want and curb the crisis that we're facing right now?
Yeah. So here's a fact. There's a lot of great brokers out there that genuinely care, but they may not understand or be as passionate about mental health as the rest of the benefits. And I understand it's a job. I understand you may not get a commission for a lot of those pieces, but a big part of advising is thinking about their best interest in mind. And if now is not the time to own mental health and that responsibility of being an advisor, someone tell me when would be a better time.
Well, and I want to finish with this question on maybe a little lighter note, because you're so dead on accurate with what you just said there. One thing about mental health is having the ability to be vulnerable, right? And I think, again, you talk about our industry, for whatever reason, I feel like we all think we have to have these suits of armor and we can't reveal any vulnerabilities in our personal life or professional life or whatever that might be. One thing you've done an absolutely fantastic job of is taking to social media, mainly LinkedIn, and honestly sharing parts of your life with us. On that side of the coin of being vulnerable, sharing parts of your life, both physical, mental, the whole shebang, how has that helped your business, John?
So I can't go into all the details, but I'll say this. From the day I started until about last week, we're doing 15 times the amount of business in 2 years. And the turning point was when I started being more active on LinkedIn, 3 posts a day, when I started sharing more relevant real world things about myself and just being transparent. That was the turning point.
Did I hear you right? 3 posts a day?
3 posts a day.
If you're listening to this, take note. You can't just show up once every 3 weeks and think LinkedIn posts are going to help you grow your business. So John, let's wrap it up here, man. You're in the EAP world. And again, for anybody who may not know what that means, it's employee assistance programs. You work with brokers all around the country. Mm-hmm. If a broker's listening into this interview today and wants to reach out to you, what are the most effective ways to do that?
Yeah, the best ways are on our website at mseap.com, or you feel free to reach out to me in my email address. I know Andy will have it up there at jtroutman@mseap.com. That's excellent. And of course, if you're not connected to me on LinkedIn, I'd love to have you connect with me. I'd love to add value to you.
Awesome, John. Well, one, thank you for being on today. I really appreciate this conversation. Mental health is, again, far too overlooked, even with what we have just gone through for the past 12 months. So wanted to bring you on with your subject matter expertise. So thank you for taking the time to do that today.
Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it, Andy.
And as I would tell your former self, go preach it. All right, John. Hey, if you're listening in, you're a broker, you're a partner of the industry, take note to what John said. This is an overlooked opportunity for you to go help your clients, especially the employees that are working for them right now. Mental health is we're in a state of one of those valleys, one of those troughs, and we have to do everything we can as an industry to help our clients, help their employees, put themselves in a better state of mind, because when they do, you know what happens. They get that clarity, they get that confidence, and at the end of the day, when that happens, good things come to those. So, John, one more time, thank you again.
You slap, man.
That's it for Broker's Voice. Have a great day.